What's up, everyone? It's June 6th, 666. It's International Slayer Day. Let's get down with some heavy metal today on What the
I saw
Show.
Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
It's 2 minutes for roping. I like that.
You're a jabroni.
Go ahead.
I love that intro every time I see it.
Justin the Juice is a genius with that one. Absolute genius. And he dropped that for us the first time without telling us. He changed it. And all of us were just dying laughing the first time he did it. So, but as you can tell, everybody, it's Tuesday. Very unusual time for What the Show, and we have a different co-host today. But yeah, welcome. Obviously, I'm Mike Deacon. I'm one of the normal hosts of What the Show, and today we're doing something special because it's June 6th. It's an International Slayer Day. It's not the official 666. That was 17 years ago, but.
Do you remember where you were on 666? Because I
do, and I have a reason.
Okay.
I was. And take a drink. I was working at the movie theater. The Omen came out that day. The remake of The Omen. That movie was literally a one-day wonder. We sold out like every showtime of that, and then the rest of the time it did not make shit. But I was actually called in after I got done to go do help interlock theaters because I had to add showtimes for it. So yes, I remember that vividly where I was.
Okay. So this is crazy. I have a link to this. I went to school in a town in England called Guildford.
Mm-hmm.
The cathedral in that town is where the original was like one of the scenes in the original Omen was shot. And on 6th of the 6th, 2006, I was taking an English exam in that town, and my seat during that exam was H8. So it was H8 on 666 in the town where the Omen was shot. Dude.
That is fantastic.
The universe is crazy. Like Hooch, the universe is crazy.
It is. So first things first, I didn't put the link for the Streamlabs in because I really don't have. I'm not the best with that. I did put it in the description of the video, though. We do have the Streamlabs is there, but bypass that. If you're going to donate directly to Robert Montano's GoFundMe, because that's where all of anything that What the Show is going to be getting for the next month is going to. So cut out the middleman. Just donate directly to Robert. He's back in the hospital again, so he needs all of our support. So any kind of donations anybody gives to him, we're here for Robert, and that's the most metal thing you can do is be supportive of people in your community.
Yeah, if someone falls down, you pick them back up. Shout out to Robert. Hope you get better soon, and shout out to you guys for everything you're doing to help out Robert and support. It's you guys do a lot for charity, and that's why you guys are my favorites. Not only are you guys hilarious, you make great content, but you give back, which is what metal and hardcore is about. So
exactly, and that's part of what we wanted to talk about today. There's a lot we can talk about, but what you mentioned right there is something that a lot of people don't understand about heavy metal. This goes for punk rock, goes for hardcore, goes for heavy metal, and the word community is a big part of everything that goes in with these types of music. Not only the fans, the bands themselves, the whole atmosphere of what involves heavy metal and hard rock. It's something that you can't really replicate in most other genres.
No. And one thing I see with a lot of genres are the fans are very fleeting. They'll move from one act on to the next, whatever's hot. And that's cool if you want to further the genre. One of my biggest criticisms of metal is it does get kind of stagnant sometimes, but there's the loyalty to the bands. And as you said, the loyalty to the community. If we didn't know each other and we were just walking out in the street and I saw you wearing that Killswitch Engage t-shirt, I would like at the very least be like, "What's up, dude?" Or like strike up a conversation and be like, "Hey, what's your favorite Killswitch album?" Like mine is
Right.
As Daylight Dies. Like
Well, I was just leaving on this one.
there you go. But like you don't get that kind of camaraderie with other genres. I don't like see people in from like fans of, or maybe this is just where I'm not like super into those genres, but you don't get people like acknowledging each other on the street for wearing band t-shirts and wearing for act t-shirts. That's like solely a metal thing. And the amount of people that I've brought to like their first metal show or their first hardcore show, they're like, "Oh, we don't want to go in the mosh pit. We want to avoid all that." It's like, no, it's fine. Like you'll be good. Like unless someone's like crowd killing a hardcore show, which you're a prick if you do that.
100%.
Like I did it when I was, I'll own up, I did it a lot when I was younger, but like now I'm at the age where I'm like, that was stupid. This is stupid. Like leave the people alone. But you know, it's a very supportive community. My favorite thing to watch is when I'm at a festival and I will see the dad wearing like a Black Sabbath or a Motley Crue t-shirt.
Yeah.
And he's like with his kid that's wearing like a Black Veil Brides or an Asking Alexandria t-shirt. That is the coolest thing in the world to me. I love that.
That's one of the things I wanted to bring up. Like, for me, you know, obviously I'm born in the 80s, you know, grew up in the 90s, where most of my metal love came in was in the early 2000s. And at that point in time, I know that's about the point in time where Download Festival really became big. And in the States, it was Ozfest. And I know Ozfest actually did a day at Download Festival back in the day. And that was something that was special at the time because you had the legends. You had your Black Sabbath, your Judas Priest, your Iron Maidens playing alongside your up-and-coming bands. Like during the day, you get there early and you'd see a band like Killswitch Engage who was just coming up. And then if you stayed till the end of the night, you got to see Black Sabbath. You got to see Rob Zombie. You got to see Judas Priest, Slayer. And that's something that the metal has done for so long, is like the passing of the torch. It's never been like, no, you're not getting my spot. It's like, come on up with us.
Yeah. I think you do get some bands that I'm kind of like, okay, I've seen you guys enough times now. Like let's let some of the young blood have a shot. But like Download Festival was this weekend. Bring Me the Horizon are headlining for the first time, which is crazy. Like I remember watching Bring Me the Horizon off of their first EP playing to like 20, 25 people. And now they're headlining Download Festival all these years later. And now you see Slipknot have become regular headliners. Avenged Sevenfold are becoming regular headliners, but they're still bringing in bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica. I think Slayer did it a few years. I think that was like Slayer's last UK festival appearance was Download Festival. And that was the first big concert I ever went to, was Download in 2000, I want to say 5 or 6, because I really wanted to see Trivium. Like, and that was the set that made Trivium big in the UK, when like Matt Heafy came on, like coked out of his mind. They'd been up partying the night before. Everything was out of tune, but they sounded great. And I was just like, this is awesome.
Yeah, they opened the main stage that year, right? If I'm not mistaken, there's the Ozfest DVD footage of them is on that DVD from that very show you just mentioned.
Yeah, and that was like everyone hated them at the time because they were like, we're going to be bigger than Metallica one day.
They were 18 too, like they were kids at the time.
I remember reading an interview with Matt, and he was like, I can't drink. Because I think he just turned 18. He was like, I can only just now drink in the States. That's why we come over to the UK and Europe so much, so we can party over here and then play shows. And I was just like, looking at him then and looking at him now, Mr. like front page of Twitch, businessman, endorsements from everyone. And then I always think back to that opening set of Download. I can't remember who headlined. I think it was either the Prodigy or Metallica, maybe, the headline that day. And I think Tool were that weekend as well, which I missed because I've only ever seen Tool twice.
Same, actually.
But yeah, dude, it's seeing the young blood start to come through now is awesome, because like you mentioned the Ozfest DVDs, I would have killed for bands like Bleeding Through, Poison the Well, 18 Visions, all those bands to get like the success that bands like Bring Me the Horizon are having now back then. And I feel like there was a moment in time where it was cool to like metal and hardcore, and then it just kind of stopped. Like Headbangers Ball stopped, labels like Trustkill Records went away, but like guys like you and me, we stayed with it. And that's, again, speaking of the community thing, like metal fans will stay true to the bands that they love.
Right, 100%. And you know, there's bands that I've seen, like I'm gonna throw the one out there. Hatebreed, I have seen probably 25 times, and I will see them repeatedly until they stop touring.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about, you know, certain bands that they will be with you forever. You know, it's no secret, anybody who knows me, I've seen Metallica 31 times, and I'm seeing them 2 more times this year. So, like, you know, when you're loyal to something, it's something that you wind up being a part of. And there's so many of the bands, like I go back to the Ozfest as a reference point, because the way that those operated, they were a full-blown tour that was like a machine, but you could see in the same day, you could see Arch Enemy and Crazy Town. Like, you know, as wild as that is. And speaking of wild, there's somebody who I've gotten to know over the years who I met very similar to, because of you, who I've actually gotten to go see some shows with. He's backstage. He's going to join us for a few minutes.
Dude!
What up, boys? What up, boys?
Dude?
The homie,
no, I saw Metal Talk, and I'm like, I gotta talk to somebody about this shit.
Hell yeah, brother.
I'm
It's
at work,
6'6".
man, and I just told my boss, I'm like, hey, give me like 5 minutes.
How you doing, Jader? How's Texas treating you?
Oh, it's hot, dude. It's hot as fuck. Like all desert. But I'm good, man. How you boys doing?
You're doing well.
Good,
Can't
man.
complain.
Doing good, man.
Yeah,
I didn't
man.
know it was.
man.
I didn't know it was Slayer Day. I thought it was just like International Metal Day.
Well,
so then
Metal Day is 11/11.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, it's crazy. It's crazy that you boys mentioned what were you doing on 666, because I remembered that day vividly as well. I put it in the chat.
Yep.
But I went to see The Omen pretty early. I saw it at 6 o'clock actually, and then which was perfect. And then we ended up. I had a wedding that night that started like it was a late wedding. It was one of those just private, you know, friends and family wedding, because they were like very big metalheads, and they got married on a Tuesday just for that date, which was metal in itself, you know, and. But we went to that wedding, but it was fun. It was crazy. You boys mentioning some great shows, man. Trivium at Download, one of my favorite things to ever see. So you seeing that live, to me, that's incredible. And that's one of the bands that I think I've seen the most live. Besides, I think Slipknot, Nonpoint, and Slayer is probably they're up there as well. But
Jader and I actually ran into each other at Slipknot 2 years ago.
Yeah,
nice.
We saw Killswitch, Slipknot. Who else opened that day?
It was Fever 333 and Code Orange. I think you missed Code Orange.
Code.
Yeah, I missed Code. I've seen them before. I had seen them before, but I did miss them that time.
I saw them when they were still Code Orange kids, and they opened up for At the Gates at this like tiny little.
It was like wild variety right there.
It was At the Gates' like comeback tour, and they did it in like
At the Gates.
Yeah, dude, like what metalcore band, like name Killswitch, As I Lay Dying, Trivium, like they all come from that, like In Flames, At the Gates, like But it was just weird. That was the first time I'd ever like heard of them or seen them. I had no idea who they were before that show. We were going to watch At the Gates, and then just this band, and like the vocalist was also the drummer, which is obviously Jamie. And I was just like, dude, this dude fucking rips. This band is awesome.
Yeah.
The first time I saw them live, I knew of them. I had not seen them live. I really went in kind of blind, and I just saw what they did. At that point, there was only 4 of them. Now the band's got bigger, but there was only 4 of them with Jamie on drums singing. I was like, holy crap, how are you doing this?
And I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think the new drummer's like Mike Portnoy's son.
It is Mike Portnoy's son.
That's crazy.
His name's Max, I think.
Yeah, I've seen. I think I saw Code. I forgot who they opened for, but I saw them before, or I saw them at a festival. I think maybe saw them at Welcome to Rockville one time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They were really, 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 really dope. And then, but yeah, man.
Well, they're one of the bands right now that it's them and Knocked Loose who are like on the verge of breaking to another level.
Knocked Loose, man. Dude, their live shows are so good.
Yeah,
they are. It's crazy. And a friend of mine showed me, I want to say like 2 days ago. He sent me a DM because he's a big EDM guy, and he went to Italy and all that shit in Vegas or whatever.
Right.
And he goes, metal pits don't compare to EDM pits. And I'm like, dude. And first thing I sent him, I'm like, go to a Knocked Loose show,
bro.
Yeah.
And then get back. And get back to me, because it's crazy. Also, the hardest pit that I've ever been in my life has actually been a Hatebreed pit, where I saw them. I don't know if you were there, Mike. It was in Orlando. I saw them. It was Five Finger Closing, All That Remains, and Hatebreed. It was
right before I moved there.
In the Hard Rock.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It was the Share the Wealth tour, and Hatebreed was opening for All That Remains and for Five Finger, and Hatebreed for me is the one that stole the show. To the point where I wanted the show to end of how tired I was, just like pitting around, where I was like, dude, that's it. I'm calling it quits, man. Like, it was just so fucking heavy. It was just, they're so great live. I love watching Hatebreed.
And Jamie's like the best ambassador for metal. I remember going to watch him
man.
We went to watch him at this place, Camden Underworld, which is like a 250 cap venue. And Jamie was just calling out the songs that they were going to play live. They had no set. Jamie was just calling out the songs. And then he just decides and he just stops and he goes, fuck it. We're going to do the Under the Knife EP in full. And I was just like,
hell yeah.
What the fuck?
So,
hell yeah.
I saw them. If you saw them back about 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't out of the question. I saw them at a show at 930 Club in DC, where they're like 35, 40 minutes into the set and they start playing I Will Be Heard. And we're kind of looking at each other like, is that it? And then they play right after that, they played Perseverance, which they had not played. And then Jamie's like, all right, we're trying something tonight. We wanted to see how many people would leave after we played I Will Be Heard. Buckle up, you're in for a night. They played for 3.5 hours. They played every song they knew and started doing covers and shit. They actually got the stage manager had to come on at 2 a.m. because the venue had to shut down by curfew laws. So they played Hatebreed, whose average song length is like 2 minutes and 40 seconds, played for 3 hours.
Incredible. Incredible stuff, man. Incredible stuff. What would you guys consider your best band you've ever seen live? Or, yeah, that's going to be the first question I'm going to ask you, boys.
There's a qualification to this, because
favorite show you've ever been to?
Okay, favorite show, that one I know. Favorite show, I literally skipped my senior prom to go to, and I saw Pantera and Slayer. That is my all-time favorite show.
I'm so jealous, dude.
Mine, oh god, mine would probably be. It was Bleeding Through, Terror, and I can't remember. The opener was a UK band, Broken Teeth. Again, the same venue, Camden Underworld, and Bleeding Through are like, other than Metallica, who are like all-time favorites, Bleeding Through are like my favorite band that like I found. They were the band that got me into metalcore. And I ended up getting up on stage to sing Revenge I Seek with Brandon. And like, I started he's a big dude. So I was like, had my arm just like hanging over him. And I was just screaming into the mic. And he was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Took the mic off from the neck and handed it to me. And I was just like, oh, shit, dude. So yeah, that one. Just because... Like, again, what other genre can you do shit like that? Just jump on stage with the band and start singing along.
Yeah, dude, that's an incredible story, dude. I want to say mine was probably Ozfest 99, and it was the first time I got to see Slipknot live. I was
they were on the second
13
stage.
years old. They were literally second stage. They were, I think, one of the first bands, or not the first band to get on, because nobody really knew who they were.
Well, the thing with
And I got to see.
Ozfest worked weird because like the first like 9 or 10 bands, they rotated each day. So who like if you played first the one day, the next day you played second, you played third. So the bands didn't have set spots. So depending on what date of the tour you saw them on, where they played.
I think they were first or second. I'm not sure, but they were well, not the main reason. I obviously wanted to see fucking Ozzy, but I was really into I still am. I'm a big hip hop fan. But I was getting into metal at that time. That's when I was listening only to like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Disturbed. I wasn't introduced to anything else until a little bit later. That's when I went back. My uncle's a huge, and I owe my uncle a lot because he was the one that when he started noticing that I was listening to metal, he was like, "Oh, you like metal? Here you go." And he gave me. I will never forget the first album he gave me to listen to that was his, that I had no idea who they were or anything like that. He gave me Vulgar Display of Power.
Yes.
That was the very first album that I remember he gave me, and he was like, "Oh, if you like metal, if you're into this stuff, listen to this." And then he went from that. He gave me Biohazard. He started giving me Sabbath, all this shit. And he's the one that took me to that show. And I just remember just falling in love and going back, and I would go to his house he's my mom's youngest brother. And I would remember going to his house and, taking whatever album. I'm like, "What do you got for me now?" And he started giving me Tool. He started giving me just Suicidal Tendencies. And I just started going backwards. And I'm like, "What the fuck is this, dude?"
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, like everybody, a lot of people know me and know that I have an immense hip hop knowledge, and I love hip hop so much. But if you ask me what my favorite genre is, it is bear none. It is metal. Metal, the community about everything about metal. I just love it so much. And we're always looked at as outcasts and devil worshippers.
But we accept everyone.
Yeah.
I think we lost Jader.
I think we lost him. Oh no, wait. We got him.
Back? Now we got you.
Yeah, we got you. Now we got you.
But yeah, man. So yeah, I want to say that's probably my favorite show because it was my first memory of like my first real concert. Well, it was so a lot of people don't know this, and I used to put this on like Facebook games, like what concert have I not? What was my first concert? My first concert ever was Ricky Martin.
New Kids on the Block.
Nice.
Yeah, dude. And it's crazy because my mom got me tickets to go with like my aunt and my cousins and all that. And the reason is because when the Cup of Life song came out for the World Cup, I'm a big soccer fan. I love that song, but that was like the one song that I liked. And he was touring. And my mom's like, "Oh, he's gonna love this." And when I was like, "Come on, like I don't want to go to this shit." I really didn't have fun. I was bored most of the time because I didn't know any of his music. And then my uncle, till this day, makes fun of me so much because that was my first show ever. And he tells me, he's like, "I'm gonna take you to your first real show." And that's when we went to Ozfest and all that. We did Summer Sanitarium right after that.
Which one, 2000 or 2003?
I think we did 2000, which is the one that had Seven Dust and Kid Rock. I think it was 2000.
Wasn't Summer Sanitarium. That was the December tour. If you saw Seven Dust. Yeah,
I saw it was. It was. I actually that was the first time I had heard Seven Dust, and to this day again, that's another band that I don't know how many times I've seen them, and they always bring it, dude.
Yeah,
always bring it.
Live band, great live band.
Yeah, so it was It was Kid Rock, and Seven Dust, if I'm not mistaken, with Metallica. Summer Sanitarium was Limp Bizkit, right?
So that's 2003. 2000 was Korn,
so
Kid
I saw
Rock,
that too.
Power Man, and System of a Down opened.
Oh shit! No, I didn't do that. I have never seen System live, so that I definitely wasn't there.
That was 2000. You saw, it was the 99. It was their the Switch to the Millennium tour. They only did like 4 or 5 dates on that tour, so you actually went to a pretty short tour with that one.
I remember.
Yeah. It was in the Orange tour. I remember that. I remember seeing. Yeah.
the first download I went to, System with the headliners on the Sunday, and I just remember it being just like heavy hitter of like it went Papa Roach into Kill Switch into I can't remember who was after that because we went and watched Therapy on another stage. And then it went Slayer, Slipknot, System to close out the Sunday.
Wow.
And it was just like, fuck. I was already tired from the Saturday because we spent a lot of the time on the second stage because it went, who was it? It was like Unearth into Every Time I Die. Unearth, Every Time I Die, Meshuggah, Bullet for My Valentine, who were like just coming off of the Poison album.
Right.
Lamb of God, Chimera, and I think In Flames headlined that stage. So like that Saturday and Sunday was just like
that was chaos, dude. Chaos, dude. Yeah.
Lamb of God, 25 years later, is now an amphitheater headliner. How nuts is that? It took them 25 years.
It's insane to me. Yeah. That's another band that I was late introduced to, and they're top 5 for me. They're in my top 5 favorite bands of all time. But Lamb of God was another one that I was really late to. I can't claim them being an early fan or anything like that. I think it wasn't until 2008, 9 when I discovered them. So it was really, really, really late. Actually, you know when it was?
Might have been rap.
When they opened for Metallica.
Yep.
I knew who they were, but I had never really heard them.
Right.
And they opened for Metallica during the Death Magnetic tour, and it was Gojira opening. It was Gojira, Lamb of God, and Metallica.
So it depended
and that was the day I discovered Gojira as well, and I was like, who the fuck are these guys?
So
they're headlining amphitheaters now. So.
Yeah.
First time I saw them, they opened for Trivium. It was Gojira, another band from Florida called Sanctity, who put out one album, and I was like, fuck, dude, where the hell did this band go? Like Matt Heafy picked them up, and I was just like, they put out one album. I was like, these guys are fucking great. So it was Gojira open, then Sanctity, then Annihilator, and then Trivium headline.
I'm trying to remember. I think this is correct. I think the current bass player from Machine Head came from Sanctity. If I'm
Jared.
Yep, that is true. Yeah, dude. So that's when I discovered. So I discovered Gojira that day, and I was completely mind blown by how fantastic and tight they sounded. Yeah. And I was like, man, I gotta listen to these. I gotta listen to the catalog. And then I knew Lamb of God. I think I only knew like Redneck and Black Label. Those are like the 2 songs that I heard.
Right.
And I loved them. And then when I saw them live and I saw Randy's energy and jumping off the stage, he's such a good front man. And then I went back and started listening to them. I don't think I've missed a Lamb of God show in Florida since I saw them that day. Every single time I didn't care where it was, I was gonna be there. They're actually coming to Texas with Pantera.
Right.
Yeah, so they're coming so Pantera, it's crazy because it's the same week as the Metallica show.
It makes sense.
So Metallica has their show, but not with Lamb of God. They have their show with Pantera. Pantera has their own show with Lamb of God. And then Ice Nine has a show with Pantera, not part of the Metallica tour. So I'm trying to get, and they're like almost back to back shows. So I'm trying to request like the next, like that week off to try to make to each and every one of those shows.
That's going to be an expensive
fucking
week.
Catch everything. Yeah, no, actually tickets weren't that bad. When I was looking, I was like, oh, okay, it's affordable. But I think if I'm not mistaken, Trivium is here in Dallas. Well, I'm not in Dallas, but Trivium's here tomorrow with Beartooth, and I found out about it yesterday. And I'm gonna miss the show, and I'm pissed.
We just had Trivium here a few months ago, and it was Trivium, Heaven Shall Burn, and Malevolence, and it was like Trivium's first
in the States. I don't know why. They're a great band.
Yeah, I feel like they don't get that. Oh shit! I got to go back to work. I love you guys. I'll probably jump on in a little bit.
Bless you, buddy.
Later, buddy. Take care. Yeah, I don't get what that is. Maybe it's just because I know over here Trivium headlined, and then when they went over to mainland Europe, they swapped and Heaven Shall Burn headlined.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just like
very big in UK.
Oh, dude, they're like the top metal band here. They come here. I don't know why they don't play arenas, because they would sell them out for sure.
And in the States, you know, they're a weird one because in the States they play clubs.
That's crazy to me.
I
mean, I would love it
right now.
So I'm very new to Beartooth. Like, someone told me that it's the old vocalist from Attack Attack's new band.
Yeah,
and I was just like, they're actually pretty good.
So the thing with them is like they're a gateway band right now, which is something I never really disparage that. You know, they're blowing up on the radio, so you know they get a lot of airplay. So, but they're bringing other ears in. It was another question I was going to ask you because I have my answer. Do you remember like what was the first band that you ever like found either on a whim or like saw an album cover and wanted it, or like somebody you were not exposed to, like because of like mainstream and like really got into?
I can tell you the exact moment. It was, I heard Linkin Park's In the End on the radio on the way to primary school when I was like 9, and just hearing Chester's voice, I was like, holy shit. And like, not to like shameless plug, like go and listen to like Mourner, like my vocals in that are like heavily influenced by Chester, and then just balls out. I'm not trying to like do any gutturals or anything. I'm just full out. And I just remember hearing his voice, like Mike Shinoda. He's like, everyone knows the story of like the label. Linkin Park were a label manufactured band.
Yeah.
And they said, you need to have a rapper in your band. The same story of Evanescence. Yep. They said, you need to have a rapper in your band for it to be popular. And I kind of didn't care for the rap stuff at the time. Now, like, obviously I love it because Hybrid Theory is one of the greatest albums ever written. If I could have written an album myself, it would have been that. But it would have been, Linkin Park for sure. What about you?
Yeah, for me, it's a band I don't know if you ever heard of. Maybe this will be anybody who's watching might hear the name for the first time because they no longer exist. The vocalist is dead, unfortunately. A band called Nothing Face. They were from.
Oh, yes, dude.
And I saw their album. It's a super simple album cover. It's the name of the album is Violence, and it has two eyes that are bugging out of their heads, and it looks terrified on it. And I was like, that is for me. And I went and I bought that, and I fell in love with the band. The final album they put out, I wasn't quite as big on, but the album before Violence, An Audio Guide to Everyday Atrocity. If you are a metalhead and have not heard that album, as soon as this stream is over, go and find it because it is a listen. The song Breathe Out by Nothing Face is one of the wildest rides you'll ever go on.
I don't think I've had the album, so I'm definitely going to go check that out. I had a question for you. Did you ever do this thing? And I was probably like one of 3 people in my town that did this. We would go to the record store, and if a CD had a certain, yes, kids, like if you guys don't know what a CD is what we used to watch. This is what we used to listen to music on.
I had hundreds of them.
If it had a certain label, like it was like the band was like released by a certain label, like any album that had a Roadrunner record sticker on, I would buy. Like the big one for me became Trustkill, like bands like Poison the Well, Bleeding Through, 18 Visions. Yeah, it's just like, did you have like a certain label that like you saw them and you were like, okay, this is how I find all my bands because this label's putting out good shit?
Century Media was me over back in the day. You know, that's a label. Unfortunately, I don't even know if they still exist anymore. Unfortunately, they do. They're very small at this point if they do, because just about everybody who was big for that label is no longer on them. But they were so. I had so many Century Media bands at the time. We were talking before we went on the air. One of them like that I grew to love was Lacuna Coil back in the day, which if you hear them and the albums that they put out back then in the early 2000s, you know, it's totally metal, but like you would be caught off guard the first time you heard them because it's done in like a gothic kind of way, and it's a dueling female and male vocalist. This is something like Evanescence was the one who blew up in terms of like airplay because of that kind of stuff. But before Evanescence existed, Lacuna Coil was there, The Gathering was there, Within Temptation still going strong. All of those bands, I really grew to love the heavy sound with the female vocal. And Lacuna Coil's changed quite a bit. If you hear them today versus back 15, 20 years ago, almost it's like a different band. Well, it is mostly a different band because there's only 3 of them that are still from that lineup. But like I remember my parents heard me listening to that, like, what are you listening to? This is nothing like what you normally listen to.
That's crazy because like it's a stigma in metal that like if it has a woman involved, a lot of metal fans will be like, ew, no, that's poser, that's emo shit. Like Evanescence, the Lacuna Coil. Then you see a chick like Candace from Walls of Jericho.
Yes.
Who is just an absolute beast, like screams better than most dudes and is hella jacked. Like, I first heard of Walls of Jericho because she did a feature on a Madball song. And I was like heavy into Madball at the time. So I was like, okay, let me go back and listen to Walls of Jericho. And then I went to see them live. And she is terrifying.
Yeah. I will tell you, like, when I really need to get back into it, but I always ran a lot. And, I put my iPod on and listened. And A Trigger Full of Promises, man, I my speed went up whenever that came on.
Did you ever see the Ozfest set? Or imagine you have, like, on the DVD of like Walls of Jericho playing Ozfest.
Yep.
Wild shit, dude.
So that year, the year they played Ozfest was 2006. And the date that I was in Virginia at the time, it was one of the last dates of the tour. And just the amount of bands that were jumping up with each other, like the Red Chord came up and played with Walls of Jericho. And A Life Once Lost jumped up with Red Chord. Like all these bands were like collaborating. It was crazy.
A Life Once Lost. That's a name I haven't heard in a. You've just like given me like a light bulb. I haven't listened to A Life Once Lost in so long that I literally just had like a light bulb eureka moment. I was like, I need to go back and listen to them.
That's the thing, like that. It's so crazy to think about how long ago that really is. That was 2000. That's 17 years ago that tour happened, which is nuts to think about. But A Life Once Lost was like one of those bands that somehow from that era had this exact right sound, had the exact right look, played great, just never got big.
Do you know who another band I always think of this, a band who are like pioneers of the metalcore genre that should have been bigger than they were was God Forbid.
I have so many stories about God Forbid. One of my bands played with them on a show that there was a blizzard the night of it, and like next to nobody showed up.
Dude.
They stayed and we shut that place down afterwards. It was like on a Wednesday night. There was like 30 or 40 people there. They didn't care. They came back after they got done and we all sat at the bar for hours. And nicest dudes on the planet. I loved God Forbid. Gone Forever and Constitution of Treason are 2 of the best albums you're ever going to listen to. Gone Forever was a game changer for them. And like their progression from Determination, which I did not love the first time I heard Determination. It's very different sound. Their production level went through the roof when they went to Century Media. And their production level on Gone Forever just went up another notch, and Byron changed his vocal style slightly, and wow, did it click.
Yeah. And now, like, I love that because I listen to the X-Man podcast, which is Doc Coyle's podcast.
I do too.
And like, I love the success that he's having from that, and obviously playing in Bad Wolves, and now he's playing guitar for Ice Nine Kills.
Yeah,
that I'm just like, I just wish God Forbid would have gotten a little bit of that, because I first heard of God Forbid. I was watching the Killswitch Engage DVD, the live one when Howard was the vocalist, and they were doing like the behind the scenes where like they were talking about Adam D's joke about like
this is a song about God Forbid skateboarding. It's called The Darkest Fall.
Yeah, and I was just like, who the fuck is God Forbid? All right, let me look them up. And then like I just listened to them. I was like, oh, this is where this genre came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
they're the godfathers of like modern metalcore. Them at the gates, like every like quote unquote metalcore band that we hear now, like all these like warped core bands, like their careers to God forbid at the gates, like all those bands from the early 2000s, like late 90s that came before them.
2003, the first time I saw God Forbid live, the lineup was God Forbid, Lamb of God, Shadows Fall, Killswitch Engage. And it was at 930 Club, which holds, I think, about 1,500 people, and it wasn't even a third fall.
That's
that was 2003.
insane.
That was 2003.
A 1,300 cap venue, and it wasn't even crazy to me.
And 2 years later, Lamb of God on their own sold it out within like the first hour of it going on sale.
That's insane to me.
Yep.
Because I went to a show like that. It was Still Remains last UK show, and it was Still Remains, The Bled, and I can't remember.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Bro, Pass the Flask is like one of my all-time favorite like metalcore albums. I had no idea Red Wedding was a Game of Thrones thing.
Yep.
And then I found out, I was like, oh, these guys are nerds just like me.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
But there was like 50 people there for Still Remains in the Bled, like Still Remains last London show, and like no one was there. And I was just like, God, this is why like that like early 2000s metalcore scene, something like Furnace Fest now, where like they're getting bands like Misery Signals, It Dies Today, Blessed by a Broken Heart,
all
like
coming back.
They're all coming back and doing like these like 1-off, 2-off festival appearances. And now everyone's like, oh yeah, we gotta go see him. It's like, where were you guys before?
Exactly. Like you just mentioned God Forbid. God Forbid played the Blue Ridge Rock Festival last year in Virginia, and they build them pretty high because they hadn't played together in 10 years. And that's exactly what Doc said. If you listen to the X-Man, he's like, yeah, where were all these people 15 years ago when we were active?
And I know they did the 2 shows in New Jersey with Bleeding Through, and I really wanted to go, but I couldn't make it. And then I saw a post that Nick from As I Lay Dying is the new guitarist of God Forbid. I was like, when the hell did that happen?
Well, so As I Lay Dying is a shit show right now, but Ken from Unearth, he quit Unearth to be part of. I was heartbroken when that happened because I love Unearth. Did
he quit Unearth, or
he is officially no longer in Unearth? Yeah, and Ken's the dude. I have a great Ken story. He's the nicest dude. This is 2002. They were on tour with Evergreen Terrace and Every Time I Die, and they were playing like tiny little venues, and they were playing this tiny little pool hall that probably held 100 people. My buddies and I decided to go last minute. We get there, and they're like, "It's sold out. We can't get in." We're walking by, and we say that, and there's this crappy little van on the side. And we see a guy with a guitar just like tuning. He's like, "What did you just say? It's sold out?" And then we're like, "Yeah, we can't get in." And he's like, "Dude, that's so awesome. Hold on one second." He's like, "Hey, I'm Ken from Unearth." He opened up the stage door and just told us to go in.
That's so sick.
Yeah, I went immediately, bought a T-shirt and a CD from them. I was like, "Of course I'm doing that."
And yeah, Tyler in the chat saying New Unearth is actually pretty sick. It is great. They're one of those bands that like consistently great.
Fighters of metal. I've heard that phrase used before, and it's 100% true. You know what you're getting out of them. They deliver every time.
Yeah, like well, kind of up until recently, I'm not a fan of their last 2 albums, but like there was a time where like I used to say Parkway Drive were like one of the most consistent metalcore bands.
They were.
Like, every album was a banger until like the last
made
2.
Me mad.
When they did that song that was like the poor man's version of Metallica's Unforgiven, I was just like, I get what they're doing. Like European festival season, that shit will go off. But like it doesn't sound like, and like we were having the discussion about Avenged, like the new album, like I get what I see what they're trying to do, but I just can't get behind it.
I heard Glitch the first time and I was like, oh no, like I really wanted to like it because they're another one of those bands that is getting to that next level, and like they're doing their US, they're playing small amphitheaters in the US now, but like. I think they really perfected what they were trying to do with Ire, and they haven't gone back because Ire was a kind of a mix where they still had like the catchiness, but also the heavy, like Bottom Feeder is a perfect metal song for like that is an absolute perfect metal song.
Best mosh call of all time. Like you hear the blares and the oohs, but where he says, "You can't escape, now snap your neck to this." Yeah. And then the breakdown hits, and it's just like, there's some corny mosh calls. That is great.
My favorite of all time, we were just talking about Unearth, where they call for their own breakdown in This Lying World, when he just yells breakdown. The first time I heard that, I started cracking up. It's so silly, but so perfect.
There's another one. I think it's I want to say it's Head First from a Hangman's Noose by I Killed the Prom Queen. There's I don't know what movie or show it's from, but like, just before a breakdown, they have like a. Do you remember when bands used to like use movie quotes in songs? Bleeding Through, start bringing that back. Bleeding Through with that. That is shout out to Jake Yakoveta. That is how I found out about Boondock Saints for Bleeding Through.
I literally had not seen that movie, and I heard the clips like, what the fuck is this from?
Yeah, I was like, you'd hear it, it'd be like, is that Willem Dafoe? Like,
yeah.
what the fuck? But they have a movie clip, and it just says, "Now it's time for a breakdown," and then the breakdown hits. I'm like, dude, stop bringing that stuff back. Like, I've got a Mourner song that's got a Fight Club sample in it, and I'm just like, that was like wanting to go back to that time. And yeah, dude, like I thought this part great. Dude, Tyler, I just couldn't get behind it. But like, if you go back and listen to like Parkway's Horizons.
I mean, and I'm happy to see Parkway getting successful, because they really have, especially over here. Because 2-3 years ago they played like the House of Blues size clubs, and they sold out most nights. So yeah. They're trying to they actually are doing their Pyro show on their next tour, and I wish them well. Unfortunately for me, I'm now in Savannah, which does not have we have a minor league hockey arena, but we don't really have any clubs because everybody goes to Atlanta, and Atlanta is like 5 hours away from me. So like for me to go to a show, it's gonna have to be something that's really, really drawing me. Like the next show I'm going to.
You got a Furnace Fest, bro.
How long will that be? Furnace Fest is probably 7 or 8 hour drive, I'm guessing, maybe more.
Somewhere it's like Alabama, which is like a weird ass place for a show.
Yeah,
but like, I'm trying to think of like other bands that. Okay, Architects. Architects are a perfect example. Like I've watched Architect come up from the absolute gutter.
They're direct support to Metallica right now.
Direct support to Metallica. I'm not a fan of the last album. I think it's very much like play it safe to get on radio and get on like big bills like this. But seeing bands like that now become gateway bands for people to come through, and now they're opening for Metallica. If you'd asked me 5 years ago if I ever thought Architects would open for Metallica, I'd be like, hell no. Like, no way.
2002, when I first found Lamb of God, same thing. 2009, their direct support to Metallica. Like, how did this happen? This band, if you hear the song Black Label for the first time, you're telling me that band's gonna open for Metallica? No.
And then they'll go back to back and then do a tour with they've got Tatted on My Arm, Behemoth. They'll go from touring with Metallica to touring with Behemoth on the next run, and it's just like, yeah. And what, like Jada talking about Randy, what a story that dude's had.
His life story is phenomenal. I've met Randy several times. I've gotten a drink with him too, before he got sober. But that man's life story is like one of the most. He is a movie waiting to happen.
I mean, you had the documentary, and that's another thing. Like coming back to the community, when he went through all that bullshit in the Czech Republic where he was locked up, the entire metal scene rallied around that dude. Like even like Corey Taylor from Slipknot was on stage at Knotfest calling it bullshit, and that was like their first show back with Randy was at Knotfest. And I just remember watching the As the Palaces Burn documentary and just like seeing him walk out on stage for the first time, like after being released.
Special. Yep.
You don't get moments like that in pop, or like maybe you do in hip hop, but like I just don't know. But like in like pop top 40 music, you don't get shit like that.
So I'm contemplating pulling something up here. I I'm sure you've seen the Suicide Silence tribute concert for Mitch.
I have, yeah.
When Randy does You Only Live Once, that video right there is what you show somebody who does not understand what metal is, because that is the most perfect moment of almost any concert I've ever seen. You know, the crowd is like anticipated. They did not announce, you know, this was also right after that. And it's the same time frame. And nobody knew Randy was there. And it was like their encore of their show. And all of a sudden, Randy Blythe comes out and they play You Only Live Once. And when he gets past the slow intro and it's You Only Live Once, so just go fucking nuts. And that thing looks like a bomb goes off in that pit. That is one of the greatest mosh pits I've ever seen. Like, that video right there is absolute perfection to show somebody who doesn't understand metal.
That's why, like, another reason that I love Lorna Shore so much is, like, if Mitch was, like, still with us and, like, the current boom that, like, deathcore is going through, he would have been so stoked. And I would have loved it because he would have been, like, the star. He had I would probably put him in, like, my top 3 frontmen. Like, he was just, like, I've met him a bunch of times, and he's, like, you look at him from afar, and it's just like, okay, is this scrawny looking dude with, like, wearing tight jeans, covered in tattoos, like the epitome of, like, those scene kid emo poser. But then he hits the stage, and he does the stomp, and, like, he spreads his arms out, and it's just like, there is none more of an imposing motherfucker on stage than Mitch was. And do you listen to Gaza's podcast that he does?
I haven't heard that one. No, I'm aware he does it, but I haven't really listened to it.
So he had he had Phil, and I can't remember who else from Whitechapel was on recently. And obviously Phil does Unanswered and that set list.
Yep.
I found out they, like, Whitechapel and Suicide, there was kind of like a bit of tension there, like not beef, but like competitive tension. Like, I would have thought that they were, like, close, like they were friends and, like, same genre at the same time, both big bands coming up. No, but Phil was like, I had such a respect for Mitch that when you guys asked me to do it, he flew in the day of the concert because he was like, there's no way in hell I'm not going to come pay respect to Mitch.
And if you watch that performance, you know, I remember that whole show, because everybody was like, who's going to be the, you know, Suicide said they're going to go on, and it's going to be an established singer.
I thought it was going to be Phil.
They thought it was going to be Phil, yeah, because of the way he did Unanswered. So that show, like, and I remember the one that really caught me off guard was fucking Austin from Mice of Men killed it on that performance. So
we did an old band man, like, did a show with Mice of Men, and, like, I got up and did Second and Sebring with us, and there's a video of it on YouTube. Like, if you just type in my name, Second and Sebring, like, I jump up on stage because Austin's voice just went to crap.
Yeah, well, that's why he's not in the band anymore for the most reason. He burned out hard,
and, like, his screams, like, they're not traditionally, like, that powerful. He's more like the more, like, raspier, like, Fry screams, like, goes for tone over power. But then that dude hit the stage of that performance, and he was doing, like, all Mitch's, like, signature. He looked like Mitch.
He did. He very similar build and stage presence.
And, like, he was hitting. I was shocked that he could hit the high notes like Mitch could hit. And another one was what's his name? I always forget it. Danny from Asking Alexandria.
Yep. Danny
when he came out wearing, like, the cowboy boots and stuff, I was like, oh great, here we go. But then that motherfucker started, like, screaming. Like, he sounded like he was pulling off high notes like Eddie from All Shall Perish.
Right. And Eddie Eddie got the gig. But, you know, the funny thing is you watch that whole show, and the one who sticks out like a thumb, you know, just sticks out, and it's not terrible, but he just was not right for the gig, was Chad from Mudvayne / Hell Yeah.
Yeah.
It did not go over well.
What song did he do?
Fuck Everything.
Oh God. Yeah, yep. I mean, I get it, and, like, obviously shout out to Chad, but that is a weird pick.
He destroyed his voice. Like, I saw them Mudvayne when they were united for Welcome to Rockville, and don't get me wrong, the nostalgia was hitting me hard, but he sounded terrible.
I remember seeing Hell Yeah at that same place, Camden Underworld, and I just remember sitting there like, I'm just here for Vinnie Paul. Like that's it. I'm just here to because I've never seen Pantera, never saw Damage Plan. This is probably going to be the only chance I get to watch Vinnie Paul play drums is going to watch Hell Yeah.
Right.
But then another one that I thought was weird, and I know he didn't play a Suicide song, but when they announced that Rob Flynn was going to be doing a song at that concert, I was like, what song? What possible song could Rob Flynn do?
Well, he played guitar on You Only Live Once with Randy.
Yeah. And
then
he did Die Young, right?
Yeah. But Suicide had opened for Machine Head twice before that, so they were buddies at that point. So that was the primary, and the same thing happened. That's why Chad was there too, because Chad was like, "Why is Chad Gray there?" Because Suicide Silence opened for Hell Yeah and Black Label Society on their tour. I know Mudvayne. It was Mudvayne. It was actually the last Mudvayne tour. That it wasn't even Hell Yeah at that point. The last time Mudvayne did a tour, Suicide Silence was one of the openers. So
I saw them. It was Suicides. It was at Wembley. It was an arena show. It was a Machine Head arena show. I think Unto the Locust had just come out. It was Suicide Silence, Bring Me the Horizon, and Machine Head.
It's a weird bill.
Really weird bill. And like everyone was like booing and bottling Bring Me the Horizon. And Mitch was just standing. You could where we were standing, we could see Mitch just standing on the stage, like laughing his ass off. And he was just like, "Hey, at least it weren't me this time."
Right.
Yeah, dude. There's just who's a band at the minute that you think is like, because I worry sometimes about like where can metal go, because I don't think we're gonna get it back to the days of like Avenged Sevenfold getting played on TRL and like Headbangers, or who do you think has got like, and this is a conversation I have with my guitarist Matt quite regularly, who do you think is the band that's like got the best shot at like going to that next level?
It's happening at the moment. It's Ghost. It is currently happening. They are blowing up right now.
Okay. They're kind of big over here. Like they did Bloodstock Festival. They seemed like for a while they kind of fizzled out a little bit.
So they are, if you didn't know, they're doing a U.S. tour in 2 months. They are selling out arenas and amphitheaters in the U.S. now.
Okay.
So how I knew, like the moment I knew, okay, they officially are like Ghost is the next big thing, is like my 17-year-old niece who does not listen to metal started listening to Ghost. I'm like, okay, something's going on. So they are the ones, at least in the United States, like they hit the other level that like nobody else has done in a while. I think Five Fingers, the last band that really eclipsed to the arena level. Ghost is the first one in a minute that's done it.
I think also like I see a lot of like TikToks and stuff where like Mary on a Cross is like one of the big TikTok songs, and then you've got bands like Bad Omens who are like massive on TikTok and stuff. Who's supporting Ghost on that tour?
Amon Amarth. What a weird combination, isn't it?
See, like I think the perfect band for Ghost to take out right now is Sleep Token.
Sleep Token would be perfect. Sleep Token's getting huge over by you guys, aren't they?
They sold out a 10,000 seater arena in 10 minutes.
I saw that. Yeah, holy crap.
I think that they might be the next ones. I think
very well. Corey Taylor said he thinks they're the next one. So
there you go. You got the Corey Taylor co-sign. I think Code Orange could also be in. Turnstile would definitely like.
Turnstile's opening for Blink-182 over here. So yeah,
there you go. Like metal and hardcore and everything is in a really, really good place at the minute. And like you mentioned, Knock Loose earlier, like Knock Loose are playing Coachella with Billie Eilish standing side stage watching them.
That is the funniest set I've seen in a long time. Watching the crowd react to them. That video, if another one, I'm saying, go listen to Audio Guide to Everyday Atrocity, then go watch Knock Loose at Coachella because it's hilarious.
And then like there's the video of like Billie Eilish who's like standing side stage and she's singing along. She's like,
singing along to this.
And then like you look at the comments, and it's just like these bullet belt wearing dorks. They're just like, oh, these guys are posers. They sold out now. Billie Eilish is watching him. It's like, dude, celebrate that shit.
Here's the thing: Billie Eilish she's singing along. She knows the music. Like, that is not a poser. She is actually a fan.
And like you look at her, and she looks like alternative. Yeah. So it's like, of course. And then you have like, I think another band as well could be Spirit Box.
They've been selling out clubs here, so they're getting there. They actually opened for Ghost it was Ghost, Mastodon, and Spirit Box, the last tour Ghost did in the States. So they were supposed to go out with Falling in Reverse, but they pulled it from that tour. Falling in Reverse, I think, had a shot, but there's been so much negative press with them that I think they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, it's mostly Ronnie. So I'm friends with a guy who used to play guitar in Falling in Reverse, and I would say a lot of their criticisms are warranted.
Mm-hmm.
They are very much Ronnie is the show, and like everyone else is just there around him. He's got he's trying to do like the pop star thing, but in whatever Falling in Reverse are. I can never fucking give them a genre. Yeah. But I agree. They definitely had a shot. I'm trying to think of Bad Omens is another band who I'm like,
they got a shot. They have a shot.
They got a shot. They got the sound. They got their frontman gets like the level of attention of like K-pop stands get. Like he had like people write fan fiction about him. Like people look at like I saw Finn McKenzie, the punk rock MBA, did a video on them, and like he has like people like looking up his like his home address and stuff. And it's just like metal fans get crazy, bro.
Yeah, they certainly are. In terms of like the other ones that I think have a shot, it's been weird in the States because of bands not having toured, plus the rising cost of touring. There are bands that like should not be playing amphitheaters, and they're going to be playing to like quarter full amphitheaters that are playing the amphitheaters in the U.S. this year. And I'm like Mudvayne and Coal Chamber are playing the amphitheaters. I'm like, that is not going to sell. And it's I hate to see it too, but the one band that I think while they're not like completely metal, they are totally hard rock. They've been on the cusp of it for years. They just need something to push them one step higher. Is Hailstorm? They are on the cusp, but they just can't get past where they are.
There's like that glass ceiling that bands like Hailstorm and hell, I would think even to me, like Five Finger Death Punch are doomed to be a festival, not an opener, but like the band on before the headliners of the festivals.
That's where they are in the States. I know they're not there over by you, but in the States,
that's where they are. They're like the one on before the headliners.
Yeah,
and another one is Alter Bridge. Like
they're gonna be where they are forever, I think.
Yeah, great band. I think Miles is probably the best vocalist, the best singer, like in metal and rock. Like the dude, he got asked to join Led Zeppelin. He got asked to join Velvet Revolver after Corey Taylor turned them down.
Yep.
But it's like he's like Alter Bridge is just there, like Five Finger, and they're just like there. And Hailstorm are another band that I think we would love to see them headline. I think as well as there was like a whole generation of bands that missed out on headlining festivals like Download because Download wasn't around. Bands like Korn, Deftones, like never got a shot to headline the big festivals. And then I remember one year they had the Offspring headline as like a test.
Yeah.
And like everyone was booing the Offspring off stage. I was like, what are you doing?
It's the fucking Offspring.
But yeah, I think it's in a good place, but there's definitely those bands like Hailstorm and like Five Finger that need to like something's got to give.
There's something that just hasn't gotten them quite to that extra step yet.
And trying to think who else. Trivium, I think, could, but like, if it's not now, it's never going to happen. I know they headlined Bloodstock Festival last year over here, which is like Download, and then Bloodstock is like the one down.
Right.
But then again, like,
it's going to be what Anthrax was in the States. I think they are always going to be relevant. They're just never going to be the outright biggest.
Yeah, that's a question. Who is your modern day big four?
Modern day. That's an interesting. So, like, by modern day, let me qualify that. Like, how recent first album?
Let's go 2000 on.
Okay, 2000 on. So Slipknot's 99, so I can't put them in there.
I'll let that's 1 year. I'll let you have.
Okay, so Slipknot is obviously the one. I mean, they are the biggest of any band that's come out since that particular time frame. I would say from 2000 on. I mean, System of a Down's album is also 98. I mean, but I can't really count them because they're basically a legacy act at this point. They haven't put out an album since 2007, 2006 actually. Shit. In terms of like the outright biggest, Lamb of God is certainly they've hit that point. They're amphitheater headliner. They've certainly hit that point. I'm not the biggest fan of theirs, but it probably is Five Finger Death Punch in terms of hitting that level. Again, we're not talking the outright super headliner status, but they are a headliner. And who would I put as the last one? That's an interesting question. Just kind of like going through my head, like of all of the festivals and stuff in the U.S., like who headlines each time. And the unfortunate thing is most of the bands are from the 90s or 80s. Another one that got that to that level, if you're talking like the mega bands, it's Disturbed.
Oh, I didn't think of them.
Yeah, their debut was in 2000.
That's right, it did. Yeah. I didn't. Yeah, that's another thing. I wouldn't have thought of them as as like one of the ones that I would have put on the big four bands, but they had like that resurgence with The Sound of Silence when they did that.
Well, they had a weird thing with Disturbed because they went on hiatus, and when they came back, their demand skyrocketed. They went from being co-headliner or playing second to last on amphitheater shows. Like they weren't even an amphitheater headliner, and then they come back and they're headlining festivals. So
I remember
they didn't really.
Sorry, go.
Yeah, I was gonna say they didn't really hit it as big quite as much overseas. I know that Disturbed and Godsmack are the two that got big in the U.S. that just never clicked in Europe. I don't know why, but that I know I saw Godsmack sometimes plays Download like in the afternoon, if I'm not mistaken.
They get put on at like 1 p.m., 2 p.m. for like everyone who's like all the people that are like waking up or still drinking from the night before that are just like, let's just get them out the way and that's a solid.
What I was going to say, the list that I gave was like based on who I think is the biggest. Like that's not who my my choices would be, but Slipknot, obviously, Slipknot and Lamb of God, definitely for me. Killswitch Engage, 100%, and 100% Killswitch Engage. And if I had to pick one, like, and again, it's on a personal level, it is Ghost. So, yeah, I actually got very big. Like their last 3 albums, was when I really got exposed to them. Their lyrics are dark as fuck. And it's got this super upbeat tone. So I really got into them. And this is weird to say, and they've been around for a long time, but the one who's opening for Ghost is Amon Amarth. And Amon Amarth's last few albums have gotten so dumb, but in a good way. Like the lyrics are so dumb, but I go see them live, and I'm like, Thor, let your hammer fly. Just screaming.
It's like them and like this band drive me up the fucking wall, but I can't deny how entertaining they are. Is Sabaton.
Yep, they're
There's
so
like
cheesy. So cheesy.
So cheesy. Like these themed bands like Amon Amarth and Sabaton, like they'll come out with like a giant tank behind them. And the one thing I love about Amon Amarth is when like people in the pit do the like they sit down and do the rowing boat, like they're rowing the oars.
Yeah, it's
well.
so dumb, so perfect.
But then like I'll watch that and I'm like, that's so dumb. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Like they're not trying to be like, oh my god, so edgy, so cool. It's just like, yeah, it's just good, dumb fun. There he is.
I'm back. I was like, hey, I'm taking my break, man. I've been listening to you guys on my AirPods the whole time, and the customer's talking to me, and I'm like, dude, I don't care right now.
Fantastic.
Very quickly, big four for me: Slipknot, Lamb of God, Gojira, and Trivium. That's my big four.
Good list. Mastodon also, like they've gotten so big. I've had a very like up and down relationship with Mastodon.
Too.
Same.
Very up and down with them.
I didn't dig them at first. I've always dug them instrumentally. I thought instrumentally they are insane. Vocals for some reason are always on and off. They have been winning me more over time, where I'm like, all right, like I can really get behind this now.
I'm trying to remember the band name. There was like a super group that happened. It was Ben, the drummer of Converge, Max Cavalera, Killer Be Killed. That was it.
Killer Be Killed, yeah.
Ben from Converge, Max Cavalera, Troy from Mastodon, and Greg from Dillinger, who was like, if you guys haven't listened to Better Lovers, Mike was the one that showed me Better Lovers. It's the members of Every Time I Die. Yeah. Will Putney, who is the greatest metal producer around right now, and Greg from Dillinger is just the craziest.
That song, as soon as I think I tried to send it to you, Mike, or you sent it, I'm like, I heard it already. I was so blown away by that track. That shit was so great.
They're playing here a venue called the New Cross Inn. That's like 100, 150 most. Like someone's gonna die. Yeah, that show because there's no barrier. It's just like all on the floor.
Greg is the craziest frontman I've ever seen.
Yeah,
he's insane. Like I went to watch his like synthwave project, the Black Queen, and you could tell that he's there. He's like doing the crooning thing, and then he just like started hitting his head on the mic. Yeah, and I was just like, this motherfucker wants to go crazy, but he can't because it's not the fucking music for it.
I got a great Dillinger story. I saw them open for 9 Inch Nails and Soundgarden. So, that was the bill. Like,
that was what, like 2016, 17, around there, or no, a little before that.
14, I was in Virginia, so probably 14.
Yeah. That show I went to, and it was like the Offspring was like the night before. Like we had back-to-back shows.
Nice.
And yeah.
So this was it was during the week, and traffic getting to the venue in Virginia is terrible. And so Dillinger went on, I think, at 5:30, and it was either 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So this is like a 90% empty amphitheater because people just can't get there at that particular point in time. So they actually had seats in the orchestra for this one, and I was like 8 or 9 rows back, and Greg sees this kid just going nuts. Singing one song, he points to him, throws the microphone to him, and lets him sing it. And then he's like, "Throw it back." The kid throws it back, and it doesn't hit the stage, and it goes under the stage. The roadies are all losing their mind, and he's just up there clapping and laughing because he's created all of this chaos.
Have you ever heard about what he did at Reading Festival over here a few years ago? No. He took a shit in the middle of the stage, picked it up with his bare hands, and then just threw it into the crowd.
Oh my Lord!
Jesus Christ!
It's just like,
what the fuck?
What the fuck? I got to go to their last show in New York, and they had Code Orange open for them. And we were just standing there watching it, and then they started playing songs from Calculating Infinity, and Dimitri came out to sing them, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
There?
Was Mike
Patton there?
I think he did a couple of songs.
Nice. So I was going to bring up something earlier. You jogged my memory on this. We're talking about like memorable shows. I don't know if either of you are familiar from, this is going back a ways. I think it was 2002 or 2003. In DC, there was the DC Sniper. And if you've never heard of it, basically it was somebody who was basically just like randomly shooting people at gas stations.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
The fuck?
So Soulfly is playing 930 Club in DC, and it's in the middle of the week. And I actually am not able to get there until like right before they play. So I missed the support and everything. I had work or something. There was 15 people at a Soulfly show because everybody was so terrified of this sniper. 15 people at that same venue that I told you was 1,500.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
When was this?
2002 or 3. I don't remember which year specifically it was.
It was also too close to the whole 9/11 thing too. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So people were like living in like terrified times.
Yeah. So, like everybody was like just getting gas was like they put the thing in and run back into their car. So like Soulfly, like at that point, every time I'd see, this was probably like my 4th or 5th time seeing Soulfly, and it was always packed. And the show has 15 people at it.
That's crazy, dude. I don't think I've ever been to a show with that little people, to be honest with you, ever.
Yeah.
So the venue I regularly played in Virginia, was called Jack's. There were times that the bartenders would be like, "Can you come up here and just have a couple of drinks?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "There's 5 people in the crowd. We need somebody to talk to." So they would just let me walk into the show just so I could order a beer.
That's badass. That's awesome, dude. No, I want to say most memorable thing that happened to me at a show was, I want to say this was 2010, if I'm not mistaken. And I was watching Linkin Park. Got to see Linkin Park. I was right in the front. I got there very early. We had really, really good. I didn't have seats. It was a general admission, but we were right at the barricade. And during Numb, Chester jumped right to where we were, and he asked me to pick him up as he sang. And I was holding him. Me and my buddy were holding him up while he was singing Numb and putting the microphones in our faces and shit so we can sing along. That is obviously a moment I will never, ever, ever forget. Ever. And then just about 2 years after that, Chester, obviously, he was like my childhood. He's one of the first bands, obviously, that it was the whole transition. You guys touched on it a little earlier with the rap rock thing, because Limp Bizkit is honestly what got me into metal, and I'm not afraid to admit that that was it for me. It was Limp Bizkit was the main thing, where I heard Nookie. It wasn't even like early Bizkit. It was Significant Other. I heard Nookie. And I fell in love with how hard I thought at the time that song was, mixed with the hip hop element. I'm like, man, this is something that I can really get into. So then after that, it was the whole, that's when Linkin Park with the new metal was born during that, So everybody tells me, oh, what inspired, what was metal for you? I'm like, hey, it was Limp Bizkit. And I always have that love for them. And I know they're cheesy and corny and all that. But
bro, go watch the Woodstock set.
Yeah, but that was it for me during that time. That for me was the hardest shit ever, Anywho, just 2 years after, or 3 years after that, a buddy of mine, and God rest his soul because he's no longer with us, we find out Slipknot is coming on my birthday, on my actual birthday, to Florida. It was 2013, July 13th, and the show was in Tampa. And I got pit tickets, the whole, I just ended up getting my pit tickets, counting down to the show. My favorite band, I actually have a Slipknot tattoo. So love them. And I told you guys earlier, that was like, my first memory of a show was that. And now I'm seeing them headline, right? So that happens. I had seen them a couple of times earlier, but I had always gotten seats. I had never gone to the pits because my friends weren't, I'd kind of drag my friends to shows because they weren't into metal, and then slowly and surely they started, loving metal. Anyway, so we go to the show. It's probably, I think, maybe like my 4th or 5th time seeing Slipknot. I go to box office to pick up my tickets, and I get there, and my buddy, he sees like, hey, scalp your tickets. And I'm like, dude, you're crazy. I'm not getting rid of my Slipknot tickets. It's day of. And then he goes, oh, happy birthday, bitch. And he got me backstage passes, and I got to hang out with Slipknot for my birthday.
Nice.
Corey, Jim, Clown, Sid. The only one that didn't hang out was Mick. And I went to go ask him for an autograph because I had a Paul Gray shirt.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to sign it. And Mick was very blunt, and he was like, hey, man, I don't do fans. I don't do this. He was like, I thought Clown was going to be like that guy.
Clown, I've heard, is the chillest dude.
One of the nicest guy for me. For me, it was Jim. Jim was like the number one. That guy, they saw that I had the tattoo. We started talking music. How would you enjoy the show? They were like, it's not your birthday. And I'm like, no, and then I showed them my ID, and they're like, oh, it's today. And I was like, yeah, no, today is my birthday. And, they're like, oh, thank you for spending. It's super cool guys, dude. And Corey was as exhausted as he was, because that man during the day was signing autographs, obviously in the mask. It's in in the Florida heat, then hitting the stage, killing it like they always do. And I got to be on stage while they performed, which was a cool experience, but I don't think I'd do it again.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
because terrible.
Yeah, I'm on the side, you get me? And I wanted to be in the show, in the pit and all that. However, you guys mentioned him earlier. Nick from As I Lay Dying was standing right next to me, and I had conversation with him that day because they had opened for that. I think it was Mayhem Fest, if I'm not mistaken.
That was Mayhem Fest.
Yeah, because I saw Amon Amarth. Was it Amon Amarth that year?
Amon Amarth was here with Rob Zombie and Five Finger.
Yeah, never mind. So I went to that one too. I went to that Mayhem Fest too.
Motorhead.
Yeah. Yes, it was Motorhead. You're absolutely right. Motorhead was there, and Lemmy fucking killed it. Anthrax was there, and they were supposed to be main stage, but then they wanted because Joey Belladonna was next to Nick from As I Lay Dying, and I talked to Joey.
Damn.
Super fucking an experience. And then right after that is after the show is when I hung out with Slipknot.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah, dude. That was sick. One of my favorite. I was the first time I met Corey, but not the last time. I got to see him. I think it was like 2014 or 2013. I saw him with Stone Sour, and I got meet and greet tickets to that, and then I met Corey again. But those are like, I think those are like the high. I've had a lot of cool stories. I've chilled out with Paolo from Trivium, because they opened
super chill, dude.
Yeah, they opened for Trivium. I mean, they opened for Trivium. They opened for Dream Theater. And
that was a weird tour.
Yeah, which again for me, I'm not. I respect them. It's not for me.
It's not for me, no.
Yeah, it's not for me. I respect the shit out of Portnoy and all that, but it's just not my type of music. So there was a no moshing rule for that tour. And I went to the amphitheater. It was the Pompano Amphitheater. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're just playing there. And then you hear Capsizing the Sea. And then you hear In Waves right after. And you can't mosh. I was like, fuck. And then all of a sudden, I start seeing just guys run from their seats to the front of the stage and just start moshing. And I fucking started running after them. And we had like a little mosh session where Trivium was like, thank you guys. So when I saw all those rules, Dream Theater did their first song. I was already bored, and I go to my buddy, hey, let's just go. I came to see Trivium. Let's go to the bar. As we're walking out, Corey and Paolo are just having beers outside, and I was wearing a Trivium shirt. I'm like, and they're like, yo, and we started talking, had like 2 beers with them, went home. Fucking awesome.
Nice. Sick. That's awesome. I was gonna say, I went to I mentioned earlier the Pantera Slayer show I went to. So Static X was the middle, but there was 5 bands on the bill. It was Morbid Angel, Scrape, Static X, Slayer, then Pantera.
That's weird. Like Morbid Angel,
like both
Static X.
Yeah.
The big thing is Scrape. Nobody knows Scrape. Nobody has heard of them ever since. Played after Morbid Angel. We still don't know how and why that happened. But the point of this though is Static X comes on. This is at Nassau Coliseum where the Islanders used to play. It's the arena is no longer there. I don't think. But
what year was this?
2001.
Oh shit! So it's
So Static X comes on. Static X has just released Machine. So
Machine, that's what I was saying. You only had Machine and Wisconsin Death Trip.
I had not heard anything off of Machine. I had heard the stuff off of Wisconsin Death Trip. I didn't love them at the time. They opened with Get to the Gone, and all my friends were like, "Is this the same fucking band that put out Push It? Like, holy fuck!" And they get into like second or third song, and all of a sudden the crowd just storms to the floor. So like pretty much the entire crowd that is there is just barreling through and jumping over the barricades to get onto the floor. And eventually it got to the point security just was like they opened up the thing and like, just come.
We're done. Hell yeah. That's awesome. I've seen Static I think like 3 or 4 times, man. And I saw them when it was Wayne Static, and I saw them when it was Static X, and they were a fun show every time. It was the energy that they brought out. I love seeing Static live, to be honest with you. I never saw them I think I saw them for 1 year. I think it was actually 2002. It's the first time I saw them, and it was a Halloween roast down in South Florida, and it was Disturbed. I think it was Disturbed, Korn, and Static X, if I'm not mistaken. Or I know it was Disturbed and Static X for sure. I don't know if Korn was that year or not. But hell of a show, dude. And they had just released Machine. I had already listened to Machine over and over. I knew that album like front to back. And they were just always great live, dude.
That year was one of the weirdest shows I went to. It was what was it called? The Family Values Tour.
Yeah.
So
dude.
Stain, Deftones, Korn, all that shit.
It was, but that year was Stone Temple Pilot, Stained, Linkin Park, Static X, and Dead Z. And Static X was so much heavier than everyone else.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. It's funny that you guys mentioned it earlier, the Knock Loose at Coachella.
Yeah.
So I had a friend that had Coachella tickets. She moved from Miami to Washington. And she's like, dude, I'm going to Coachella. And I'm like, Coachella's not really a thing for me. I don't like a lot of bands there.
Right.
And I'm like, but do me a favor. I'm like, there's this band there. And she loves like metalcore and all that shit. She like listens to it. But I go, there's this band called Knock Loose. Do you know who they are? And she's like, no, I don't. And I'm like, so do me a favor. When they hit the stage, grab your camera. And I'm like, but don't point it at Knock Loose. Turn around. And I want you to record the crowd for me, because I don't know what the fuck they're gonna like. They're gonna like see some shit.
They went off though. They
went off. And you guys mentioned Billie Eilish being on stage and fucking going word for word, and I'm like, fuck yes, dude. Fuck yeah. I think that's another band that they're definitely on their way up, dude.
Fuck yeah, dude. And then you've got like Turnstile playing Rolling Loud.
Yes, dude.
They've got. I think they've got like. I think it's because I think they've got the same managers like ASAP Ferg. I think it's like the same management company. But then I could totally see Sleep Token playing Coachella next year and like being like one of those next bands. I remember Code Orange were the first of like the hardcore bands to do it, and they were selling T-shirts of the chick from Midsommar, and it said Code. It was like Coachella.
Yep.
Written across it, and I was like,
made them stop selling them. they made them stop.
Coachella made Code Orange stop selling the T-shirts, and I had a friend who was there that year. I was like, please fucking get me one. Like, I need one of those T-shirts. But they were all gone by the time that he could get to them. I was like, fuck, dude.
You want to know what? I have a little confession to make. I can't get into Sleep Token. I'm trying.
A lot of people have said the same thing, that they
I'm
just
trying, man. I'm trying because I have a buddy of mine, which I think Mike met briefly. He went with me to that Kill Switch Slipknot show. Yeah. And he's like, dude, have you listened to Sleep Token? And I was like, no, I've not heard of him. And this was before this new album dropped. This was probably like 6-7 months ago, because he was heavy into like listening to them. And I started hearing them, and I have this, I don't know, I feel like they have
fuck, how do I say this? Like, they're trying to find their identity and they haven't found it yet, or I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but they have certain sections in their songs where they're ripping it, dude. They're just fucking wailing, and I'm like, this I can get into, and then it turns into like Imagine Dragons for me, and I'm like, fuck, I can't. Like, it takes me out of the song, and I've had everybody give me a list. I've had listen to these songs, and they have good songs. But I can't find myself to just go out of my way to listen to them. Does that make sense? And I see that everyone is praising them, and I'm like, I don't. It's not for me. It's kind of like, it's just not for me. But
so the singer and the main songwriter, I'm not gonna say who it is on here because it's like there's like an unwritten rule of like if you know who the singer is, like keep it them. Like I'll tell you guys off air, but like he is not a metal guy. Like he's never been in a rock band. He's never been in a metal band. Like he's played mostly like solo, like folk stuff. Like, so like Sleep Token is his first band. So I think he approaches it from like let me write what I think metal sounds like. And a lot of people are like, this is too different. And I think it's because like he's the main guy. And like he doesn't come from a metal background, but he's still writing what he thinks metal fans would like. Yeah. And I think another thing is like the gimmick, which is why like I really think that Ghost should take them out, because I think that just like from looking at a stage show of those two bands together, I think that could be sick as fuck.
Yeah. Well, look, another confession. I can't get into Ghosts.
A lot of people can't, and I get it.
Can't do it. I think their gimmick is dope. I think their stage presence is dope. But it's another thing. Like, I think they're more, for me, it'll be more of a live show, which I've seen them live, and they were really good live. Yeah. But I can't get into my car, or I can't be, just cleaning the house and I throw on some metal. I won't pick Ghost. And there was one band in particular that I had that feeling for. Earlier, and I do listen to them now, but Avenged was a band that I really couldn't get into as much at first, and it wasn't until I saw them live for the self-titled tour where they blew me away. They're a hell of a live band.
They're great live band.
And Avenged, I was like, all right, I see the appeal, and then I slowly but surely, and it's crazy because I had heard their shit before, but I wasn't really into it. But then right after self-titled, Nightmare dropped. And, I don't know if I'm in the minority here or not, but that's my favorite Avenged album. I feel
it's a great album.
Yeah.
Very polarizing, though. I know a lot of people who don't like it.
Don't like it. Yeah, I know. A lot of people are like, how do you like that one out of everything? I'm like, I love Nightmare. I think from beginning to end, that's a hell of an album. Obviously, Wake of the Fallen and City of Evil, they're all really, really good albums. But Nightmare's the one that I think has the most repeat hearings for me all the time. Like, even recently, I still haven't heard the new album. I heard like 3 songs and I was like,
shit. I shouldn't. And like, I grew up like all those Orange County bands are like, those are all my favorite bands from like that area, like Avenged, 18 Visions, Throwdown, Bleeding Through.
They all toured together back in the day.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. And I was just like, I listened to the album and I was like, I shouldn't have to force myself to listen to an album by a band that I love. And that was when I was just like, okay, I got to stop trying because this just isn't for me. And I was just like, the whole time I was just like, I need to like this album because I love Avenged. I loved Hail to the King. Everyone shit on Hail to the King.
Yeah, I liked it too. I had my issues with it, obviously, because it did sound like I was listening to Metallica and Guns N' Roses, but I didn't hate it by any means. And I was like,
they even fessed up to that. Like, even like Shadows and Sin Gates was like, yeah, we were trying to write something that sounded like the Black Album. We did it. And like, they play Hail to the King of Shepherd of Fire because those were the 2 big singles. Yeah. They don't play anything else off of that album.
Nope.
That's it. And I got a confession. I don't care for 72 Seasons.
Yeah, I know.
I don't either.
I don't either, man. But that's okay to say. It happened to me with last year. I didn't hate the last Slipknot album, but I wasn't crazy.
Chapel Town Rag, I don't like.
that album is the first Slipknot album that I can say I don't care to listen to that again. And I think over time, like when Great Chapter came out, you always compare it to old albums, right? So you're listening to other albums, and I know, so do I. No, trust me. But the first time I heard Great Chapter on through, I was like, man, that was really fucking good. But is it better than, you know, the last couple albums? Probably not. And then Great Chapter for me started slowly climbing up and climbing up and climbing up. Same thing happened.
A jam.
Yeah. Same thing with We Are Not Your Kind. When I heard We Are Not Your Kind the first time, I was listening to it and I was like, damn, do I really like this? Is it that good? And then
now.
Yeah. And then you start listening to that. But dude, this last album for me, it wasn't, it's not it. It's not, and that's okay. You're not gonna love everything.
Yeah. Same thing as the new Metallica. I'm like, these songs meander and they don't have the catchiness to it. Like,
and I think, would I hear this live? Would I want to hear anything off this live?
Exactly.
And I can think one or two songs off that last Slipknot album where I was like, all right, that I would love to hear live. And if you look at their set list from, they play one or two songs. They Chapeltown Rag and the some other song.
Dying song?
I think it's Yen or some shit like that. I don't know. But they play two songs and then they go back to their OG set list because that they have to know. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know how. I think when Metallica went overseas, me and Mike, the first night of the tour, we were like, oh, they took like 2 or 3 songs from 72 Seasons, and that was it.
Yeah.
They start playing all their old shit because this is one, and I love Death Magnetic. I loved it.
Same.
I really like that album too.
Yeah. And I liked Hardwire a lot. I liked Hardwire a lot.
I don't love Hardwired.
Yeah, that's what I said. Liked. I liked Hardwire a lot, but I didn't love it. It's the same thing for me. And the songs that I actually did like from Hardwire are the ones that they actually play live. You know, so
well, now it's just Moth from the Flame. That's it.
Yes, and I don't even know why they don't play Hardwire. I think Hardwire was better than that, and I love Spit Out the Bone.
That was the one. When I saw Metallica last in London, they ended with Spit Out the Bone into Master of Puppets. But like, shout out to our friend John Hoey. Like, I was with him at Star Wars Celebration. We had like a 2-hour conversation in the hotel bar just about metal, kind of like we're having now. Yeah. And we got into the topic of 72 Seasons because I went to an album listening party like a few days before it came out, and just like seeing the look of heartbreak on his face when I said, dude, I never thought I would prefer a Metallic Saint Anger to another Metallica album.
Yeah. Saint Anger had more bangers.
It's like at least Saint Anger had Frantic.
Yeah.
At least it had
The Unnamed Feeling is one of the most underrated songs that Metallica has. People forget about that song because it's on Saint Anger, but that's actually a really good song.
Yep. I agree.
I just hate the snare sound. This like Lars' snare sound on that fucking album drives me insane.
It is prior to 72 Seasons, it is easily their worst release. But
it really is, man. But honestly, again, I haven't gotten around with the Avenge. I think I heard like 2 songs. I heard the song that they released, and then I heard one more after that, and I was like, they already lost me. So I'm like, and I was one that wasn't crazy about the stage. I didn't think the stage was a good album either.
I liked it. I didn't love it. Jenny, you'll appreciate this because, like you said, you're a big hip hop fan. I was watching an interview with Shadows, and what they're doing to like revolutionize the business at the minute with like fan interaction. Like, I'm not an NFT guy, but like what they're doing, like giving their fans exclusive access and stuff, like tickets and stuff. That's all cool. But I was watching an interview with Shadows, and he was like, "Oh, we were listening to a lot of hip hop, and how you would have guys like Childish Gambino or Kanye that it would be like one beat throughout the song, and then it would switch to a completely different beat."
Which is something that they do absolutely. Yeah.
He was like, "We do that a lot on this record," and I was like, "Oh, I don't
think work for you.
It doesn't work in metal in general."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't work.
2-minute song, which Avenged does not.
No, they're all like 7 plus minutes.
Right.
It's just like, what this? I feel like a parent. Like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, I didn't see what I know. They did Welcome to Rockville 2 weeks ago. I didn't see the set list. I don't know how many songs off the new album.
Look it up.
I think it's 3. I looked it up. I think it's 3 from the new one.
Yeah. So, and I know they did a Little Piece of Heaven, which I'm like, I fucking love hearing that shit live. I know they did my favorite Avenged song, which again, it's off the Nightmare album, but it's just I love Buried Alive. Buried Alive for me is one of I
dude.
absolutely love, and that is hands down my favorite Avenged song. And they actually did it. They did it with the tour they did with Metallica, with the Hardwired tour. They did it, and that was the first time I got to hear it live. So I was in heaven.
I was in the Snake Pit for that tour in Chicago, and
Nice.
my buddy and I actually made a game with Avenged Sevenfold because they kept doing it. They were running around because the Snake Pit's like the diamond.
Yeah.
Shadows and Zachy were just running around high-fiving people. We were like, who can get the most high fives? He beat me by 2. He got 17. I got 15.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
So
That's funny.
I'm looking at the set list right now. I do not like it. It's like Game Over, Afterlife, Hail to the King, We Love You, which is another one off the new album.
That's the new album, yeah.
Buried Alive, So Far Away, Nobody, Nightmare, Backcountry, Unholy Confessions, and A Little Piece of Heaven. There's one.
It ended with a bang,
2,
but
3. Yeah,
they did a lot of soft shit. It was a soft set list.
No Beast and the Harlot, no like.
Yeah.
Oh,
Barely
man.
any City of Evil, to be honest with you. I think they only had Backcountry, right?
Yeah, just Backcountry, and the only thing off Awaken the Fallen was Unholy Confessions.
But that happens a lot, though. They don't do a lot of Awaken the Fallen anymore, man. They used to do Chapter 4. They used to do so many tracks off that shit before.
Chapter 4, Second Heartbeat.
Yeah, dude. They used to do that. They don't do that no more. I've noticed that lately also, that they don't play a lot of their older shit. I don't know if it's maybe that his voice gives out. It's
He can still do it.
Yeah.
There's a couple moments of there's a song called, I think it's called Mattel on the new one, where it gets like super thrashy, super hardcore.
See, that's the one song my friend told me to check out. He's like, dude, check out Mattel and there it is, and Cosmic.
But it's for like a minute and a half. And I'm like, dude, just fucking do this.
Yeah.
And then, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Waking the Fallen is 20 years old this year.
Isn't that crazy?
I know, dude. I know.
Imagine a 20-year anniversary tour of Waking the Fallen.
I thought that's what the big announcement was gonna be. I thought they were gonna say we're gonna do Wake the Fallen 20th anniversary tour, and then but everybody's like, oh, it's a new album, and I'm like, yeah, that would be fucking cool, but do that next year.
Right.
Do it this year. Do the Wake the Fallen tour. That would have been amazing.
Even if it was
who
just
are they touring with? I know they're touring. They're doing a big
Falling in Reverse.
That's what it was. That's right.
I can't remember who the new opener is, because it was Spirit Box.
I don't really listen to Fallen in Reverse. It's just don't. But
yeah.
I like that song "Watch the World Burn" for some reason. Like when I heard it, I was like, and a lot of people that like Fallen in Reverse are like, that song sucks, and I was like, I liked it. But I'm not into them whatsoever, or him.
Me neither.
Which is crazy because they're a band, but he's just the front of everything, dude. I'm like, even when you go to Apple Music, it's just his face.
Yep.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I think we were talking about him earlier. Like a good friend of mine used to play the lead guitar player on the first couple of albums.
Oh shit!
And he was just like, he is like a thing of himself. Like Falling in Reverse is just the vehicle that like to push him along. But the thing is, like, I fucking love that first Escape the Fate album. Like, I still go back and listen to Dying Is Your Latest Fashion now.
Yeah,
like, it's so fucking good.
That is, for me, a press play album. From beginning to end, there's no bad tracks. That
Zero
is
skips.
Straight through. Yep.
And that was another time. Like, we had bands like them, Alisana, I Am Ghost. And, like, AFI are one of my all-time favorite bands. And going back to the Waking the Fallen thing, if they just did one night, like I flew all the way from London to LA earlier this year just to watch AFI play Sing the Sorrow in full.
Sing the Sorrow?
Yeah, and that's like they said, we're doing it one time, that's it. If Avenged did that for Waking the Fallen, think how many fucking people would show up.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, boys, I love you. 30 minutes are up, unfortunately.
Gotcha. I think we're going to wrap up.
I'll be listening to you boys. Bye.
Good man, Jader. We love you.
Later. Bye. I love you guys.
Yeah, so with that in mind, Matty, I think we will start wrapping up. We are at an hour and 45 minutes right now. But tell us what you've got going on before we go.
Oh, dude. So I have quite a bit going on. I've just finished tracking vocals for the next Mourner song.
Nice.
me and my friend Jason. So I had another band, Shadow of Azrael, which kind of it was a thing to kind of get back into music, get back into making music, get my voice kind of warmed back up to doing like screaming vocals. Working on a few new tracks for that because like I love playing the Mourner stuff, but like I also want to play some heavier shit too.
Right.
So got that going on. Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast. Me and PLD, who I watched the trivia. the cutthroat
You
trivia.
ruined it.
Oh, what a piece of shit that dude is for that.
The 50-point question, he got it right. But like, what the fuck? I was screaming at my TV. I was off screen. If anybody hasn't watched, I was off screen and I was screaming at my TV. Like, I'm surprised you couldn't hear me on the stream because, from Bethany Speed, we had a whole bit planned and this motherfucker had to ruin it.
He'll do that. But yeah, you can find me there every Wednesday. POD projects for Holy Snokes. And also Mission Impossible Declassified is now me and POD. Which is every Saturday. So we got Mission Impossible 2 is going to be dropping this Saturday.
Mission Impossible 2 is a banger soundtrack.
Yeah, Limp Bizkit, Metallica's I Disappear.
The song that took down Napster. So
shit, you're right, it was.
It is. Yep, that's the song that took Napster. That was what caused all the fiasco. So
me and my friend used to real quick tangent before we start wrapping up. We used to recreate the music video on Grand Theft Auto 4. We went out into like the field part of the map and found the old crop duster plane, and one of us would just run, and the other one would like fly it along. Yeah, just like fly behind him and recreate that part of the video. Yeah, awesome. I didn't know that was the song.
Yeah, it's 100%. That's the song that took that. That was the whole fiasco started because they found out that it leaked out. So that is what caused all of that. So on our end, what the show tomorrow night, we are going to be back to our normal format. Rob Fishbeck from Rob Fishbeck Network is going to be joining us. Next week we'll be doing a Ted Lasso tier ranking.
Oh,
so yeah, Bethany's very, very excited about that. So definitely check out. Peggy Gubbins is going to join for that, and Dan Bettenhausen. And I actually will be appearing on Dan's Fantastic Four podcast, the Fancasted Four podcast. I'll be appearing on that shortly. And you can also catch me Tuesday nights periodically right now, but once NFL season starts on Notorious by Chance channel with Chance Ellison and Jacob London on Left Side Strong Side, where we talk everything NFL. But Matty, this was a lot of fun. We've got almost 2 hours, I realize. But always a pleasure to see you. And we'll definitely be doing some stuff again. Hopefully we'll see each other soon.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm dying to come out for Furnace Fest, so maybe I'll make a whole trip out of it.
That would be fantastic. Well, with that in mind, we're gonna sign off for now. Thank you, everybody. Squeeze it easy, as Juice would say.
I saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
It's 2 minutes for roping. I like that. You're a jabroni.